We have a duty, those of us who believe in totally peaceful means, to use all our powers of persuasion with the people involved in both camps, and I'm doing that.
John Hume was the leading nationalist politician of his generation, a lifelong champion of reconciliation, leader of the SDLP, and the chief architect of the peace process. He was born in 1937 into a partitioned Ireland, a nakedly sectarian state, and a gerrymandered city where the majority Catholic population were downtrodden and second-class citizens.
The major facts in my early life as a child was that I grew up in poverty. My father was unemployed. There was widespread discrimination against our people in the Northern Ireland of those days.
Get on the pavement, you have a right to be on the pavement. Stand on the pavement.
I'm a Catholic. I live and work in Derry. My view is that the division in the population which exists here must be eradicated. Both sides must work to build the city. I must also bluntly state that Catholics here are faced with blatant social injustice.
Hume initially studied for the priesthood in Maynooth, but returned to Derry as a school teacher and an activist in the credit union movement. When the civil rights movement began, he was prominent in leading protests in Derry, which were always unwaveringly peaceful, despite the violent response of the state to such assemblies.
Yeah, but we want to march in there. Why not? It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to you. You can't prohibit it.
Everybody government.
Who's government?
The government of Northern Ireland.
Not our government.
The people of this area have launched a massive campaign of passive resistance to show that they have withdrawn their consent completely from the system of government that operates in Northern Ireland.
Hume was one of the founders of a new, peaceful nationalist party, the SDLP, in 1970. He became its leader in 1979. Along the way, he was elected to the Northern Assembly, to Westminster as the MEP for Foyle, and also to the European Parliament.
I believe that we have a real process of lasting peace and a total cessation of violence on the basis that I have just stated. And I'm saying to them, hurry up and deal with it.
One of Hume's great skills was in devising inclusive solutions that brought both unionist and nationalist communities together. He was hugely instrumental in drawing up the Sunningdale Agreement in 1974 and the Anglo-Irish Agreement in 1985. He went to extraordinary lengths to seek a peaceful solution to the conflict, including frequent visits to the US, where he forged a powerful axis with Irish-American politicians, particularly Ted Kennedy.
I have said repeatedly that I will speak to anyone if I believe that talking to them will make a contribution to peace and stability.
During the 1980s, he began a secret dialogue with the Sinn Féin leader Gerry Adams that culminated in the 1994 IRA ceasefire and the Good Friday Agreement in 1998.
A historic day at Stormont after 2 years of talks and after a generation of bloodshed and decades of division and acrimony, George Mitchell ushers in what the whole island hopes will be a new era of peace.
It's the first time that the people of Ireland, North and South, have spoken as to how they share this piece of earth together.
The principle of consent is absolute and is throughout the agreement. And the breakthrough is that is now accepted by all, North and South.
John Hume was awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace in 1998, alongside the Ulster Unionist Party leader David Trimble. His efforts to bring Sinn Féin to the negotiating table ushered in a largely peaceful era, but came at an electoral cost to the SDLP, which was eclipsed by Sinn Féin in the polls. Hume retired from politics in 2004, at which time he was suffering the early stages of dementia, becoming increasingly dependent on his wife Pat. John Hume summed up his life's work in simple words. He said, "Real division in Ireland is not a line on a map, but in the hearts and minds of people." Former US President Bill Clinton described him as the Irish conflict's Martin Luther King.